I was only looking for my car keys in my husband's gym bag. Instead, I found a second phone I never knew existed, and by the time I finished reading what was on it, I understood our entire 15-year marriage differently. My name doesn't matter for this story. I'm 41 years old, married to a man named David for 15 years. We have 2 kids, a house in the suburbs, and, at least from the outside, the kind of steady, unremarkable marriage people describe as solid. David worked in sales, travelled occasionally for work, and had started going to the gym more seriously about 2 years ago, something I genuinely encouraged since he'd been under a lot of stress with a promotion at his company. That Tuesday morning was completely ordinary. I couldn't find my car keys anywhere, and I remembered David had used my car the night before to run to the gym after his usual bag. I grabbed his gym bag off the hallway bench, unzipped the front pocket where he usually kept his keys, and instead found a phone. Black, cracked screen protector, a case I didn't recognize. I assumed, at first, it was an old work phone. I almost put it back without a second thought. Something made me pause. The phone wasn't locked. The first thing I saw was a messaging app I didn't recognize, with a single contact saved simply as M. The most recent message, sent the night before, read, "Can't wait for Thursday. Tell your wife you have a work dinner again, lol." I sat down on the hallway floor and read through 8 months of messages. A woman named Melissa. Co-worker from a satellite office David visited twice a month for regional meetings. Hotel confirmations. Restaurant reservations for 2 on nights I remembered clearly as work dinners and client entertainment. I want to be honest about what that moment felt like. It wasn't the dramatic movie-style devastation you might expect. It was quieter than that, and somehow worse. It felt like watching 15 years of memories rearrange themselves in real time, each one suddenly meaning something different than I'd believed while I was living it. I didn't confront him that morning. I photographed everything on that phone, message by message, date by date, and put it back exactly where I found it. I needed time to understand what I was actually dealing with before I said a single word. Over the next week, I quietly pieced together a timeline. The affair had started 8 months earlier, shortly after David's promotion, during what he'd told me was a stressful transition period at work. Melissa worked at a satellite office 2 hours away, and the regional meetings he mentioned twice a month lined up exactly with hotel confirmations and restaurant reservations I found buried in the messages. I also found something I wasn't prepared for. Several messages where David talked about our marriage, about feeling like he'd been just going through the motions for years, about feeling unseen and unappreciated at home. He never said any of that to me directly. Not once in 15 years had he told me he felt unseen. He'd said it, in detail, to a woman named Melissa instead. I confronted David on a Sunday evening after the kids were asleep. I placed the phone on the kitchen table between us and simply asked him to explain it. He didn't deny it. He sat there visibly shaken and admitted everything: the affair, the timeline, the hotel visits disguised as work trips. He tried to explain the feelings behind it, the sense of going unnoticed, the promotion stress, the slow drift, he said, had been building for years before Melissa ever entered the picture. "You could have told me you felt that way," I said. "You had 15 years to say a single sentence to me instead of 8 months of sentences to her." He didn't have an answer for that. He apologized repeatedly in the way people do when the apology is really just an attempt to manage the consequences rather than genuinely reckon with what they've done. I'm not going to tell you this story ended with some triumphant cinematic ending, because it didn't. David and I are separated now, working through the details of a divorce that neither of us wanted 15 years ago and both of us now understand is necessary. It's not a clean, satisfying resolution. Some days it still feels like grief for a life I thought I had, more than anger at the man who took it from me. What I've learned since that Tuesday morning is that betrayal rarely announces itself the way you'd expect. It doesn't come with dramatic music or an obvious warning sign. Sometimes it's just a cracked phone case in a gym bag, an ordinary Tuesday, and 15 years of memories quietly rearranging themselves in the space of an hour. If you've ever had a moment like that, where one small discovery changed how you understood your entire life, you already know exactly the kind of silence I'm describing. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments and subscribe next week. I'm sharing what happened when I finally told our kids the truth.